The year I turned 50, Gu Yunche had an affair with one of his female students. When he brought a woman 15 years his junior home and forced me to leave with nothing, my world collapsed. Back then, to let him focus on his career, I gave up the opportunity my professor offered me to study abroad. I willingly stepped back to manage the household, care for his parents, and raise our son. Later, I injured my right hand saving him, and could never hold a scalpel again. After decades of my dedication and sacrifice, if not for merit, at least for the toil I've endured, I never imagined he would treat me like this. I cast a pleading look toward my in-laws and my son, yet, my in-laws, shedding their usual obstinate and old-fashioned ways, suddenly championed democracy, urging me to leave with nothing so Gu Yunche could have his happy ending with his new love. The son I raised with my own hands actually found me shabby and ugly. Telling me to step aside for Gu Yunche's happiness in his later years, in utter despair, I signed the divorce papers, only for them to immediately throw me out of the house, leaving me to freeze to death in that winter. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in 1980. Back then, my father-in-law had just broken his leg, my mother-in-law had just been diagnosed with cancer, and my son was about to start first grade. Overwhelmed, I looked at everything before me. Then frantically examined my perfectly intact right hand, and burst into tears. This time, I won't sacrifice everything for anyone else. I will pick up the scalpel again, dedicate myself to the medical profession, and heal the wounded and rescue the dying. With a loud clang, the dilapidated wooden door was kicked open in a fury by Gu Yunche. He stormed over in a few quick strides, jabbing a finger at me with such venom that he looked ready to slap me across the face. I gave Muga that 200 yuan of my own free will. If you dare corner her in the dormitory for money again, don't blame me for what happens next. I tilted my head back to look at Gu Yunche's face. All the fluttering heartbeats and fawning admiration I'd felt for him in my past life had curdled into pure disgust and revulsion. The scene from my past life was as vivid as if it were happening right now. Gu Yunche at 53. Showing up at my door with a heavily pregnant Jiang Muge to force me into a divorce, smugly holding the impeccably dressed Jiang Muge in his arms, he looked at me with utter contempt and declared that the Jiang family had turned their fortunes around with his help. From now on, he and Jiang Muge could just coast along and still rise straight to the top. He told me to be smart and sign the divorce papers myself before getting the hell out. My in-laws, always fawning over the powerful and trampling on the weak, viciously cursed me to please Jiang Muge, demanding I clear out immediately to make room for her. My son, following their example, brutally tied up his own mother, who refused to divorce, and threw me into the storage shed for the sake of his own future. He withheld all food and water, vowing he wouldn't stop until I signed the papers. Starved to the brink of death, I begged them on my knees to let me go, but my son callously took a knife, sliced my finger, and forced me to press my bloody fingerprint onto the document. The moment my in-laws heard that Gu Yunche had given Jiang Muge 200 yuan, the pickled vegetables in their bowls instantly lost their appeal. Yunche, they said, 200 yuan is 3 months of your salary. How could you? Gu Yunche glared darkly at his mother. You don't understand. Right now, Muge may just be a poor student, but I can help the Jiang family turn things around. Once they're back on their feet, with their influence, my own rise to success will be just around the corner. Besides, doesn't Yuachan earn a salary too? If you two just tighten your belts a little, surely you can scrape together 200 yuan. After hearing Gu Yunche's words, my mother-in-law hesitated, then turned her gaze to me, shifting her tone. Yuachan, you're in the wrong here. That poor girl Muge has it hard. She's Yunche's student. It's only natural for him to help her when she's in trouble. Don't be so petty, or people will laugh at us. A scornful laugh escaped me as my gaze fell on my in-laws. My father-in-law had broken his leg, and the medical expenses were costing nearly $20 a month. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer. Even though it was in the early stages, surgery was still the safer option. I had discussed this with Gu Yunche before. He said we should save a bit each month and take her for the surgery once the weather got warmer. For months, our whole family had been scrimping and saving, stretching a single dish of pickles over 3 days, and here he was, casually handing over $200 just like that. In my past life, I swallowed my pride and endured, only to be met with his heartless betrayal in the end. In this life, whoever wants this scumbag can have him. I lowered my gaze with a cold sneer, raised my hand, and smashed the only meat dish on the table onto the floor. My salary supporting your parents is already more than generous. I have no obligation to support your mistress. Since you want to be a kept man by Jiang Muge, why not make it official? Give her the title. let's get a divorce. With that, I turned and ran outside. I paid no mind to Gu Yunch's furious curses or Gu Jingzhe's heart-wrenching cries behind me. I sprinted all the way and reached Professor Zhao's office just before she left for the day. Professor Zhao, about the opportunity for overseas study you mentioned last time, is it still available to me? Professor Zhao looked at me with pleasant surprise, bent down, and pulled the application form from her drawer. I've been waiting for you to come and see me, she said, looking at Professor Zhao's kind and caring face. I felt a lump in my throat and my eyes began to well up. In my past life, she had earnestly counseled me about my future, telling me this training opportunity was rare, go away to study for 5 years, and I'd come back as at least a deputy dean. She also said a woman shouldn't be trapped in the trivialities of domestic life, and that I should go out and see the world, yet I betrayed her kindness. For the sake of my family, I gave up that one chance to change my fate, resigned from my hospital job, and went home, willingly becoming their beast of burden. In the end, I was mocked by the whole family and met a fate I could not rest in peace with. I quickly filled in my name on the application form, looked up at Professor Zhao with utmost sincerity, and said, "You're absolutely right. This time, I won't let anyone change my original purpose of devoting myself to healing the sick and saving lives." On the way back, it felt as if a heavy shackle had been removed from me, and my steps became light and free. Just as I reached the front door, the long mist aroma of stewed meat wafted towards me. With my in-laws being ill and Gu Yunche not contributing his salary to the household, we had been scrimping and saving for months. It had been ages since we'd had stewed meat. I wondered what guest had come today to make my in-laws splurge like this. I stood on tiptoe and peered through the window. My usually stingy mother-in-law was piling stewed pork belly into Jiang Mugei's bowl. "Eat up," she said. "Yunche told me you skimp on meat to save money. Today, you can eat your fill." Jiang Mugei didn't stand on ceremony, taking large bites of the marbled meat. In the blink of an eye, half a bowl of rice was gone. Her in-laws watched with eager eyes, swallowing hard. Gu Jingzhe's chopsticks, poised to take more meat, were firmly pushed down by his mother. Gu Yunche watched Jiang Mugei with an appreciative gaze, a look that was far from innocent. I shoved the door open with force and deliberately stood in the doorway for a moment, letting the icy wind howl into the room. My mother-in-law shot me a disapproving look. "If you had the nerve to run off, what are you doing back here?" Ignoring her exaggerated eye roll, I pulled up a stool and sat down beside Jiang Mugei. I picked up a piece of meat from the plate and stuffed it into my mouth. "Miss Jiang, are you not aware that my mother-in-law has cancer and can't eat greasy food? If you feel bad about it, just give back the 200 yuan Gu Yunche gave you. Buying all this meat is just a waste." Jiang Mugei looked at me awkwardly, the food in her mouth stuck in a state of being neither swallowed nor spat out. She immediately stood up and rummaged in her pocket for a long while before finally pulling out 2 crumpled 100 yuan bills. Reluctantly, she extended the money toward her mother-in-law. "Auntie, I came today to return the money. Teacher Gu has already been so kind to me, I can't put him in a difficult position." The older woman shot me a fierce glare, holding the corner of the bills. She looked at Gu Yunche, not daring to take them, yet unwilling to push them back. Seeing this, I quickly reached out and took the money from Jiang Mugei's hand. "You really shouldn't put him in a difficult position. Since you like Gu Yunche, you should help take care of his household more. Look at all these matters, big and small, that need managing for his whole family. He's going to marry you sooner or later anyway. You might as well get familiar with it all now." Jiang Mugei stared at me in shock, her face flushing bright red. "Madam, Xinyue-chan, will you ever stop?" Gu Yunche dragged me into the adjacent room without a shred of chivalry, furious and exasperated. "What on earth are you trying to do?" I let out a cold laugh. Was I not clear enough? "I want a divorce, starting tomorrow. I'll be living at my workplace until you agree to the divorce." Gu Yunche shot me a venomous glare and slammed the door shut in a rage. Staring at Gu Yunche straight, proud back, I let out a scornful laugh. He'd soon learn that the kind of love he wanted couldn't be cultivated from the daily grind of domestic life. Early the next morning, I took my packed belongings and moved into the hospital dormitory. I had thought that, given Jiang Mugei's capabilities, she would at least grit her teeth and hold out until after I went abroad for further studies before pulling any stunts. I never expected Gu Yunche to show up at my door after just 3 days in the hospital. "Xinyue-chan, have you finished making a scene?" he said. "If you have, then come home at once." I closed the medical file beside me and looked up at the weary face of Gu Yunche. "Have you decided on the divorce?" The Gu household has been quite the spectacle these past 3 days. In her bid to win Gu Yunche's favor, Jiang Mugei actually had the nerve to move into the Gu residence and take over the care of the entire family, young and old. The pity is, she was accustomed to a life of ease from childhood, And as soon as the Jiang family fell from grace, she immediately found a protector in Gu Yunche, having never known real hardship. She thought she could solve the Gu family's problems with nothing but sheer enthusiasm and no real skills. She is simply naive. On the evening I left, in a bid to prove herself, she splurged on snacks and toys for Gu Jingxia, and even bought prepared foods and pickles for her in-laws. The lights in the Gu house stayed on past 10 that night, filled with the constant sound of laughter. As the saying goes, joy often ends in sorrow. After eating food that was too greasy and salty, Gu Yunche's mother-in-law suddenly developed a high fever in the middle of the night. Simple physical cooling methods were completely ineffective. So in a panic, Gu Yunche had no choice but to rush her to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor informed Gu Yunche directly that his mother-in-law needed immediate surgery if she wanted to survive. With Gu Yunche away, Jiang Muge was left to care for both her father-in-law and Gu Jingxia. Despite her attentive care, her father-in-law managed to hit his head, knock out a tooth, and even fracture his hand, with both in-laws hospitalized. Jiang Muge and Gu Yunche were run off their feet at the hospital, leaving them no time to look after Gu Jingxia. They had no choice but to leave him with the next-door neighbors. The kid next door is a real layabout. I heard Gu Jingxia didn't even go to school this morning. He went into the mountains with that boy to hunt for game. Gu Yunche sighed wearily, his brow furrowed, and his tone softened. I won't get a divorce. I know I was wrong. I'll hand over my entire paycheck from now on, please. Just forgive me this once. Mom just had surgery, and her recovery will take a long time. Dad's health isn't great either, so we still need you to handle the heavy chores at home. Jingxia has started elementary school now and needs help with his homework. Why don't you just take this chance to quit your job? I can support our family just fine. I stared coldly at Gu Yunche. This was exactly how he persuaded me in my past life. I believed him, and what was the result? I quit my job. And Jiang Muge immediately got the opportunity to study abroad. The very next year, Gu Yunche found a way to go overseas as well. While living abroad, they were an inseparable, carefree, and romantic couple. Gu Yunche poured every last cent into helping the Jiang family get back on their feet, not sending a single penny back home. I had no steady job and could only scrape by with odd jobs to make ends meet for the household. In the dead of winter, my hands turned black from the cold. Yet I couldn't bring myself to buy a pair of gloves. I was even more reluctant to eat the food myself, saving every bite for my in-laws and Gu Jingxia. Several times, I collapsed at the doorstep from sheer exhaustion. When Gu Jingxia called Gu Yunche to ask for money, he would always mumble some excuse and hang up. Later, they returned to the country in all their glory, only for Gu Yunche to turn around and blame me for not taking good care of his parents and our son. I clenched my fists and said with deliberate sarcasm, "Why don't we just hire a nanny? Our combined salaries should cover it. I think Jiang Muge would be perfect. She's young, we know her background, and your parents already like her. How could she be a nanny? She's a top student. Her hands are meant to hold a scalpel, not to be buried in the drudgery of daily life." I looked at my own rough hands with a pang of bitterness. Wasn't I a top student too? Are my hands only meant for this drudgery? Gu Yunche, you're showing far too much favoritism towards Jiang Muge. Gu Yunche tried to defend himself. That's not what I meant. I curled my lips into a mocking smile, pulling a form from the drawer. I'm going abroad. Gu Yunche snatched the form in shock, his voice suddenly rising. That spot should have been Muge's. I looked at Gu Yunche calmly, though my hand under the table was clenched into a tight fist. What do you mean, should have been hers? Jiang Muge is just an intern. How does she deserve such a great opportunity? Is she even capable? Gu Yunche's chest heaved with anger. He stared at me, taking several deep breaths before finally calming down. He reached out to grab my arm. You should go tell the supervisor yourself that you're giving up the training spot. Let Muge have it. Muge is young. If her skills are lacking, I can teach her myself. She needs this opportunity for advancement more than you do. I dodged Gu Yunche's hand with a cold glare. On what grounds? I'm a key member of this hospital. That spot is rightfully mine. What does Jiang Muge have to offer? Just because she slept with you, you think you can abuse your power and hand this opportunity to her? That's a complete lie. After shouting, Gu Yunche cleared his throat awkwardly and lowered his voice. My relationship with Muge is completely innocent. Stop spreading rumors. I'm not letting you go for the sake of our family. How can you bear to abandon your home just for a training opportunity? Gu Yunche has always been a master of emotional manipulation, constantly shifting the blame onto me to make me feel guilty and foolishly allow them to take advantage. In my past life, my sense of responsibility was too strong. I couldn't bear to see Gu Jingxia suffer. So I walked right into the trap Gu Yunche had set for me. In this life, I'll do exactly as I please. What others think is none of my concern. I looked coldly at Gu Yunche. Gu Jingxia is your flesh and blood. Your parents didn't raise me, so I owe them no filial duty. After the divorce, I'll pay every last cent of Gu Jingxia's child support. I have work to do. Dr. Gu, you'd better go home and tend to your parents. Gu Yunche glared at me. His brow furrowed so tightly the storm in his eyes seemed ready to spill over. He was just about to unleash a torrent of curses when a sudden commotion erupted outside, followed by the violent bang of my office door being kicked in. A man stood there, a knife in his hand, his gaze fixed on Gu Yunche with pure malice. I'm here for your life, he snarled, before I could even process what was happening. Gu Yunche grabbed my arm and yanked me in front of him, cowering behind me. He gasped for breath in a panic. Yue-chan, he's clearly after me. Not you. You need to stall him. Just hold him off until the police get here, and we'll be safe. In my past life, I foolishly believed Gu Yunche's lies and recklessly shielded him. When that man charged at me with a knife, I chose to sacrifice myself to save Gu Yunche. My right palm was nearly severed by that man's blade, and I could never hold a scalpel again. I lowered my gaze to my right hand, then turned and seized Gu Yunche's arm, shoving him away with all my strength. In this life, I will not abandon the medical career I love for the sake of this man. Gu Yunche glared at me with a ferocious expression. Shin Yue-chan, have you lost your mind? I took a step back, looking coldly at Gu Yunche's disheveled state. Gu Yunche, did you ever love me? Gu Yunche was stunned, before he could even speak. He was set upon by a menacing man. The man was hell-bent on taking Gu Yunche's life. Each swing of his blade delivered with terrifying force. Gu Yunche had no way to dodge. The man hacked at him, leaving him covered in blood. It was a horrifying sight. Just as the man raised his blade to strike at Gu Yunche's hand, Jiang Mugei's voice suddenly rang out from outside the door. Let go of Professor Gu. I've already called the police. The man shot a cold glance at Jiang Mugei, spat out the words, you damn adulterers, and without hesitation, brought the blade down. Severing Gu Yunche's hand, Gu Yunche let out a heart-wrenching scream before collapsing into unconsciousness. When the police arrived, the man offered no resistance. He just fixed Jiang Mugei with a venomous stare and hissed, you little bitch, you're the one who killed my daughter. Gu Yunche was the lead surgeon for her operation. To give you practice, he treated my daughter's life as worthless, leaving her to die alone on the operating table. Jiang Mugei's face instantly drained of color. Shaking her head, her voice trembled as she said, I don't understand what you're talking about. The man snorted coldly, only by making a huge scene will the truth come to light. You bitch, I'm not afraid to die. I'm going to expose you two lovebirds and drag everyone down to hell with me. Jiang Mugei covered her ears in terror, her emotions spiraling out of control. That's a lie. I didn't do it. Seeing Jiang Mugei like that, my heart clenched painfully. In my previous life, after the incident, a colleague I was close with came to visit me at home. She seemed to hesitate before saying, Yue-chan, it's a good thing you resigned. Who knows what other blame they would have tried to pin on you otherwise. Just focus on recovering. Staying home to support your husband and raise the children is a fine path too. Don't pay any mind to the gossip out there. It's all nonsense. At the time, I was utterly confused by her words. When I tried to ask for clarification, she clammed up and wouldn't say another word. Later, Jiang Mugei went abroad for further studies, and Gu Yunche followed suit not long after. The whole matter was just brushed aside and forgotten. Thinking back on it now, the blame for the death Jiang Mugei caused has undoubtedly been pinned on me. Dr. Shen, Dr. Gu's surgery is too complex. You and Dr. Gu are the only ones in our hospital who can perform it. You. Hearing the other doctor's words, I snapped back to reality. My gaze settling on Jiang Mugei. I'm still a bit shaken from the scare just now. I'm in no state to perform surgery at the moment. Dr. Jiang is Dr. Gu's star pupil. Why don't we let Dr. Jiang handle it? Jiang Mugei stared at me in panic, her lips trembling as she tried to speak. The other doctors immediately chimed in. Since Dr. Shen can't do it, let Dr. Jiang take over. Dr. Gu has always looked out for Dr. Jiang, you're his only protege. He went against the grain many times before to put you in the lead surgeon's role. You can definitely handle this one too. Jiang Mugei hung her head in distress, then turned and dropped to her knees with a thud before me. Madam, I'm begging you, please save Dr. Gu, he's your husband. If you don't help him, his hand will be ruined. I stared coldly at Jiang Mugei. So you know he's my husband. If you know he has a family, why don't you keep your distance from him? Jiang Mugei was taken aback, tears streaming down her face in pairs. That's not true. There's nothing between me and Professor Gu. We're just teacher and student. You can't just make such baseless accusations. I sneered. Baseless accusations. I'd wager the whole hospital knows about you too. Everyone except me. In my past life, I was too slow on the uptake. I worked alongside Gu Yunche for so long and never once suspected anything between him and Jiang Muge. In this life, I'll strike first and make sure they're both too ashamed to show their faces in this hospital again. Jiang Muge shot me a fierce glare. Pretending to be strong, she pulled herself up from the floor. If you're so heartless that you won't save Professor Gu, then I'll do it myself. Watching Jiang Muge's retreating figure head towards the operating room, a scornful smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. With Jiang Muge's level of skill, Gu Yunche's hand is a lost cause. There's no saving it. He should experience every single ounce of the suffering I endured in my past life. Why can't I even make a fist with my hand? Who performed the surgery on me? Was it Xinyue-chan? With her skill, reconnecting all the nerves in such a short time would have been no trouble at all. She did it on purpose. She wanted me dead. I need to see her. I need to see her right now. Watching Gu Yunche's frantic outburst in the hospital room, I clenched my right hand. In my past life, the surgery was performed by Gu Yunche himself. His explanation was that the nerves in my hand were severed, and despite his best efforts, he could only restore basic function for daily life. I would never be able to hold a scalpel again. Back then, I never doubted him. I never imagined that for Jiang Muge's sake, he would be so depraved as to sabotage the operation. Professor Gu, it wasn't your wife who performed the surgery on you, it was me. You, how could you possibly have operated on such a complex procedure? You haven't even finished your residency. You had no business being in that operating room. Jiang Muge, who the hell gave you the authority? Do you have any idea that because of you, my hand is ruined, even through the closed door of the hospital room? Gu Yunche's furious roar was deafening, so he knew Jiang Muge was just an intern and couldn't be the lead surgeon. How dare he let her operate on someone else? Then, Jiang Muge shrank back in fear, her voice trembling. Xinyue-chan refused to perform the surgery. I was only trying to prevent us from missing the critical treatment window. A loud crash suddenly echoed from the hospital room. Gu Yunche hurled the thermos flask by his hand straight at Jiang Muge. What do you know about the critical treatment window? Do you really think you got this internship on your own merit? Without me, you're nothing. Jiang Muge, my hand is ruined. I'll never hold a scalpel again. Your career is over too. How are you going to save the Jiang family now? Jiang Muge wept pitifully, but Gu Yunche's eyes held none of their former tenderness, only pure hatred. I slowly pushed the hospital room door open, placed the fresh medication by the entrance, and gently reminded Jiang Muge, don't forget to change Gu's dressings. You're the attending physician. How is it that I have to be the one to bring the medication? Jiang Muge glared at me with red-rimmed eyes, her body trembling slightly. Xinyue-chan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You deliberately provoked me into performing the surgery on Professor Gu. You deliberately made him resent me, deliberately stopped him from helping our Jiang family get back on our feet. I never imagined you could be so vicious. I let out a cold snort. Don't you know your own capabilities when it comes to this surgery? If I can't do it, you could have called in a doctor from another hospital. I really wasn't in good shape yesterday. I didn't dare gamble with Gu Yunche's career. I never imagined you'd be so reckless as to take on such a difficult surgery yourself. Or was it deliberate? Did you think that if Gu Yunche's hand was ruined, you could take his place and single-handedly turn the Jiang family's fortunes around? That's a vicious slander. Jiang Muge screamed at me furiously. I had no idea we could call in doctors from other hospitals. I only stepped into the operating room because no one else was helping Dr. Gu. None of you told me. You all conspired to set me up. I looked up at Gu Yunche's pale face and deliberately taunted. I thought your precious student was so impressive. Turns out he's just a useless sack. Gu Yunche stared at me, his lips parting as he was about to speak, when a sudden knock came from the door. 2 police officers stood outside. They showed their badges and stared sternly at Jiang Muge. Comrade Jiang Muge, please come with us. Jiang Muge was detained by the police on suspicion of a major medical malpractice incident. The hospital's immediate response upon learning of the incident was to fire Jiang Muge, since Gu Yunche was also implicated in the matter. The hospital placed him on suspension as well. With Jiang Muge taken away, the responsibility for following up on Gu Yunche's post-operative care fell to me. Looking at the gruesome, mangled flesh of Gu Yunche's palm, I carefully sprinkled the medicine onto the wound. The suturing wasn't done very well. It might take longer to heal. Don't get the wound wet, and avoid any strenuous activity for the next few days. Gu Yunche stared at me with red-rimmed eyes. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied, seeing me like this because of Jiang Muge? I pulled the bandage tight, a faint, bitter smile tugging at my lips as I watched him wince in pain. What does my satisfaction matter? At least Jiang Muge showed you mercy and left you alive. What about that little girl? I heard she was only in her teens. What were you thinking when you had Jiang Muge operate on her? I stood up, looking down at him with contempt. Gu Yunche, you're a murderer. Gu Yunche struggled to sit up urgently. No, it was just a minor surgery. I never expected Jiang Muge to be so foolish. He looked up at me. I overestimated her. I thought she had talent like you. With great effort, he reached out and grabbed my lab coat. I know I was wrong. In my current state, I'll need you to take care of the family from now on. Don't worry. I'll do my best to recover. I'm confident it won't be long before I can pick up a scalpel again. Mom just had surgery, so please don't tell her about this yet. Try to keep it from Dad as well. When you get a chance, please go pick up Jingsha. I'm also craving the congee you make. After work, head home to cook it and bring me a bowl when it's ready. These past few days without you, I haven't been eating or sleeping well. I think I've even lost some weight. With a sneer, I yanked the lab coat out of Gu Yunche's grasp and thrust the divorce papers from the Civil Affairs Bureau toward him. I've already signed. Before I leave the country, do me the favor of coming with me to finalize it. Gu Yunche tore up the divorce papers in a fury. I told you I won't get a divorce. Xinyue-chan, have you no shame, using something like this to force me into a divorce? I've already apologized. What more do you want? I'm warning you, don't push your luck. I lowered my gaze to the torn pieces of the agreement on the floor and let out a sorrowful sigh. That's just the way of the world these days. Getting a divorce is shameful, but having an affair isn't. As long as a man admits his mistake, a woman is just supposed to forgive him unconditionally. I stepped on the shredded contract, looking at Gu Yunche with utter indifference. Fine, if you refuse the divorce now, I'll file for one the moment I'm back in 5 years. You'd better watch yourself. Gu Yunche waited for me to scream at the top of my lungs. Don't you dare go abroad. If you dare go abroad, I'll make sure everyone here knows you're a selfish woman who would abandon her family and child just for her own future. You have no shame. Are you in such a hurry to divorce me because there's another man? Xinyue-chan, you are not allowed to go abroad. Who's going to take care of this whole family if you leave? I stared coldly at Gu Yunche's selfish face. That last sentence is what you truly care about, isn't it? Gu Yunche, I am not your family's maid. I am my own person, and I will no longer sacrifice my dreams and career for anyone. In my past life, I constantly compromised and endured, held back by traditional beliefs that made me swallow my grievances time and again, having been given a second chance at life. The truth I've come to understand is this. Those who are free and unapologetically self-interested are the ones who live with peace of mind and fare better. I turned to leave, but as I reached the doorway of the hospital room, a pair of grubby little hands blocked my path. Gu Jingsha looked up at me with a tear-streaked, dirty face, his voice trembling. Mom, are you leaving me behind too? The day I gave birth to Gu Jingsha, I had a difficult labor and suffered a massive hemorrhage. To save money, my mother-in-law insisted the doctors not perform the surgery I needed. I was in the hospital ward for 3 days and 2 nights, fighting for my life as critical condition notices kept piling up. When the doctor asked Gu Yunche whether to save the mother or the baby, he hesitated for a long time, pushing his mother aside. He chose to save me and signed the consent form for the C-section. After giving birth to Gu Jingsha, I passed out completely. I was told by the doctors that I was unconscious for 3 full days, and that if I hadn't woken up then, there would have been no saving me. My health was ruined during childbirth, so Gu Jingsha is the only child I'll ever have. I've always doted on him since he was little, giving him the best of everything. No matter how tight things were at home, there was always meat in his bowl, and he never wore a single patched piece of clothing. I suppose I spoiled him rotten from the start, and in the end, I raised nothing but an ungrateful wretch who bites the hand that feeds him. In my past life, it was he who personally pushed me out the door. Back then, I clung desperately to his hand, begging him to spare me a way out for the sake of having given him life and raised him. Yet, he still cruelly shoved me out, uttering those same words. I can't have a useless, shabby mother like you. You're an embarrassment. This time, I will become the capable and glamorous mother he envisions in his heart. And in return, he should taste some hardship. I bent down and gently touched his face, a pang of sorrow tightening my heart. After all, he was the child I brought into this world with my life on the line. No matter how much I resented him, I could never sever that primal bond between mother and son. Mommy isn't abandoning you, sweetheart. Mommy just has to go away for work. You'll stay here with Daddy, Grandpa, and Grandma. When Mommy comes back, I'll buy you lots of fun toys and yummy treats. Okay, don't listen to your mother's lies. Once she leaves, she's never coming back. Jingsha, you have to beg your mom to stay. Who's going to take care of the whole family if she leaves? Look, your grandparents are old, and your dad is sick. If your mom leaves, you'll be a complete orphan with no one to care for you. Haven't you seen how the kids at your school without mothers get bullied? That's exactly what you'll become. Seeing my mother-in-law's bitter, mean-spirited, and divisive expression, I strode forward and slapped her across the face. From the very day Gu Yunche and I got married, she has been lording it over me and bullying me. I've slaved away serving her for half my life, and in the end, she still despises and looks down on me, all because I'm an orphan with no family, unable to pave the way for Gu Yunche's meteoric rise. No matter how well I did, she took it for granted and never showed an ounce of gratitude. My mother-in-law stared at me in shock, then burst into loud sobs the next second. Heaven has no eyes. A daughter-in-law is hitting her mother-in-law. I looked at her with a cold sneer. For someone like me, you should tell Gu Yunche to divorce me. It's not that I'm clinging to your family and refusing to leave, it's that your son refuses to divorce me. My decision to study abroad is final. Even if you try to use Gu Jingzhe against me, I won't stay. If you don't want to raise him, just send him to an orphanage. He's Gu Yunche's son, after all. If he's not ashamed of it, I certainly don't care. Seeing my mother-in-law stunned, I flung the payment notice from my pocket at her. From now on, I won't spend a single cent on your family, you can pay your own bills. My mother-in-law stared blankly at the bill on the floor, then burst into even louder sobs. This is mutiny, mutiny, Xinyue-chan, if you dare leave, I'll find Yunche a new wife tomorrow. I let out a scornful laugh. Before you find him a new wife, make sure Gu Yunche divorces me first. Bigamy is a crime, you know. Since I had a complete falling out with the Gu family, the hospital, fearing further complications, transferred me to a different department. Thanks to the hospital's arrangement, I haven't seen hide nor hair of the Gu family for days. On the day of my departure, I got up at the crack of dawn to pay one last visit to Professor Zhao. She gave me a second chance at life, twice, by all rights and reason. I owe her a proper farewell. Standing outside Professor Zhao's office, before I could even knock, I heard Gu Yunche's agitated voice from within. Why did you give this opportunity to Xinyue-chan? Do you have any idea you've destroyed our entire family because of this? Dr. Gu, that's not a fair thing to say. This is a rare opportunity. As her family, you should be giving her your full support. It's only 5 years. When Yue-chan returns, she'll be a core member of the hospital staff. This is a good thing. Gu Yunche snorted coldly. What's so great about that? All I want is a woman who can take care of the home. I don't need a capable woman. The more mediocre she is, the more she'll be devoted to looking after our whole family. Xinyue-chan had already agreed to quit her job. If you hadn't given her this opportunity, our family wouldn't have had to go through all this trouble lately. Now that she's leaving, who's going to do all the housework? Who's going to take care of the elderly and the children? Laughter born of fury. Before Professor Zhao could say another word, I shut the door open, stormed over to Gu Yunche, and slapped him across the face. Gu Yunche, you make me sick. Gu Yunche was stunned for a moment, then raised his hand to strike back. I turned my head to dodge the blow. As he tried to hit me again, Professor Zhao immediately called security to drag him out. Xinyue-chan, you're nothing but a bitch, you shameless. Watching Gu Yunche being dragged away by security, my hand trembled slightly. How could I have been so blind to fall for him back then? Professor Zhao gently took my hand and said, don't worry about what others think. You must be brave and be yourself. I nodded gratefully, my voice choked with emotion. Thank you, Professor Zhao. The moment the plane took off, I felt a sense of relief like never before. Gazing at the scenery below the window, I let out a heavy sigh. From today onward, Xinyue-chan is a new person. 5 years later, wearing my favorite red coat, I returned to the hospital. Surrounded by the director and the hospital's key staff, Gu Yunche never liked it when I wore brightly colored clothes. It wasn't until I went abroad that I realized vibrant colors actually bring out my beauty. The hospital looks exactly the same as it did 5 years ago. Nothing has changed. Many of the doctors at the hospital are still familiar faces. When they saw me, they all greeted me warmly, saying, Dr. Shen, you really look different now, so beautiful. I always said you had the makings of a beauty, and Dr. Gu even mentioned, bringing up Gu Yunche on such a lovely day really kills the mood. Exactly, it's such a downer. I smiled at them. Let's not spoil the mood. Our divorce papers aren't even finalized yet. On the way to the Gu residence, my feelings were a bit complicated. When the car stopped at the Gu family's gate, I thought I had pulled up to the wrong place. The once neat and tidy entrance was now overgrown with weeds. If you didn't look closely, you'd think the place was abandoned. Just as I was hesitating about whether to get out and knock, the door swung open from the inside. A teenage Gu Jingzhe emerged, struggling to carry a full bucket of water as he made his way out. All these dirty, heavy chores used to be my job. I never imagined that after I left, they'd make Gu Jingzhe do them. He's just a kid. I flung the car door open in a rage. Gu Jingzhe froze on the spot the moment he saw me. His lips trembled as he uttered a single word, "Mom." I lowered my gaze and walked over to him. "Where is Gu Yunche? Why would he make you do this?" Gu Jingzhe kept his eyes downcast, tears streaming uncontrollably down his face. "Grandma died the year you left." The following winter, Grandpa was shoved out the door by Dad and froze to death. After Dad's hands were crippled, he just drank himself into a stupor and neglected everything. He drank away all the money for my schooling. Last year, Dad had a stroke. He's paralyzed now, can't get up anymore. Seeing Gu Jingzhe's state, a lump formed in my throat. I took his hand and led him inside. The moment I opened the door, a foul stench hit me so hard I nearly vomited. Gu Yunche, lying on the Kong, shifted his eyes. The instant he saw me, he frantically pulled the quilt over himself. "Get out, get the hell out." I placed the prepared divorce papers beside Gu Yunche's hand. "Sign it." Gu Yunche let out a bitter, mocking laugh, which then dissolved into wrenching sobs. "Xinyue-chan, I've wronged you. The state I'm in now, I brought it all on myself. I'll sign the divorce papers. I have just one request, please, take Jingzhe with you. I'm begging you." Looking at Gu Yunche, who bore no resemblance to the handsome, dashing man he once was, I lowered my gaze. "Fine." Gu Yunche signed the divorce agreement, and we were officially divorced. Although I decided to continue caring for Gu Jingzhe, to avoid the tragedy of my past life, I resolved to keep my distance. I would only be responsible for raising him, unwilling to invest any other emotion in him. So I sent him to a boarding school, where he would come home once a month. 3 years later, as I had hoped, I became the director of the hospital. Over those 3 years, I performed thousands of surgeries without a single error, was named the city's most outstanding doctor, and my office became filled with commendatory banners. The end. Story 2. Zane Xia is getting engaged. In the private room, his friend asked him, "What about Mira Qiao?" Zane Xia said with certainty, "She won't leave me. Keep her outside." Would Mira Qiao agree to that? Zane Xia casually picked an orange from the plate and added, "I'll make it up to her. She's sensible and won't make things difficult for me." Later, I truly became as he said. No fuss, no drama. I continued to play the role of the obedient and understanding girl in front of him, until the day before his engagement. I sold the house he gave me, took the money, and ran away. Who in this world can't live without someone else? She's sensible. She won't make things difficult for me. As these words were spoken, I suddenly felt that the usually radiant and flawless Zane Xia seemed to start rotting and stinking. I remember his mother fell ill because of the woman his father kept outside their marriage. Now, is he ultimately going to follow in his father's footsteps? The people in the private room were still discussing this topic. "Zane, you and Mira Qiao have been together for 5 years now, right? Seriously, don't you get tired of it? In the past 5 years, my dad has already changed my stepmom 3 times, but you've always had only her by your side." Zane Xia swirled his wine glass and said with a smile, "Mira Qiao is beautiful, capable, and has been with me since graduation. And she genuinely likes me. I don't want to just end things with her like this." Upon hearing this, my friend said with a smirk, "Say what you will, but I, Zane, am truly devoted. If I were Mira Qiao, I wouldn't want to leave you either." Zane Xia cursed. "Get lost." The group burst into laughter and started drinking again, chattering away as the conversation shifted to other topics. Marriage is truly terrible. Being controlled by someone. See, Brother Fu didn't show up again today. I stood outside the private room, listening to all this with an expressionless face. The freshly printed contract in my hand made a creaking sound as I clenched it tightly. A tear slid from my eye and landed on my hand, cold and icy. I silently admonished myself in my heart, "Mira Qiao, snap out of it. Between you and him, it was never meant to be. You were just using him. Don't get emotional." After calming my emotions, I pushed open the door and entered the private room. Someone jokingly called me sister-in-law. Zane Xia glared at them instantly. Zane Xia has never said I was his girlfriend. In others' eyes, at best, I'm just a capable secretary. Only his friends know about the relationship between him and me. Pretending not to hear, I obediently walked to Zane Xia's side and handed him the contract in my hand. I'm not planning to confront him right now. After all, he's still technically my boss. You can always find another man, but a job with 10 to 4 working hours, weekends off, and full social benefits is hard to come by. Even if I have to quit, I can't be the one getting fired. After sitting down, Zane Xia placed the freshly peeled orange in my hand. The orange was peeled very cleanly, even the white pith was removed. His friend saw it and said meaningfully, "Secretary Qiao, you're really lucky. Look how well our Zane treats you. You must repay our Zane properly." I smiled, tearing off a segment of the tangerine and putting it in my mouth, with one bite. A sour and astringent taste spread in my mouth. I should indeed repay him properly. After all, he saved me back then. The story of how I met Zain Sia is a bit cliched. In my senior year of college, my mother fell seriously ill and urgently needed money. During my internship, to earn overtime pay, I went out for business dinners with my supervisor, but that supervisor had ill intentions. He spiked my drink with drugs. When that beast was about to drag me into the car, it was Zain Sia who appeared and saved me. That day, lying in Zain Sia's car, I actively pressed myself against him. Zain Sia resisted, but couldn't withstand my repeated advances, and in the end, he lost control. After that day, he helped me cover my mother's medical expenses. After learning about the school I was attending, he had me join his company. After graduation, I even became his secretary directly. After joining the company, Zain Sia taught me many things about work, outside of work. He would take me traveling all over the country to broaden my horizons. As a partner, he is emotionally stable, has no bad habits, and is very generous to me. This arrangement lasted for 5 years. In Zain Sia's eyes, I had always appeared obedient and sensible during those 5 years, but what he didn't know was that my encounter with him was actually something I had planned from the very beginning. The place I went to with the supervisor was also the one I had booked in advance. Because I knew that Zain Sia would go to that mall every Friday night to buy pastries for her bedridden mother. The only thing I didn't lie to him about was that my mother was sick, and I really needed the money, but I was genuinely grateful to him. But now, I must leave him, because I don't want to be the one who ruins someone else's marriage. The air conditioning in the private room was still on, and I was only wearing a short skirt. Now that autumn has arrived, the evenings are, after all, a bit chilly. After a while, I couldn't hold back a sneeze. Achoo. Zain Sia thoughtfully draped his coat over my shoulders and asked, "Are you cold?" I shook my head obediently as usual. Then, he continued drinking, one glass after another. After more than a dozen glasses, Zain Sia could no longer hold on and leaned back against the sofa. I took Zain Sia and left the private room early. He had drunk a bit too much and was staggering as he walked. I helped him into the elevator when we went upstairs. Finally, with great effort, we managed to move him onto the bed. Exhausted, I lay down on the bed with him. Zain Sia doesn't drink often, but he handles alcohol quite well. When drunk, I just lie down and sleep. I turned over and gazed at Zain Sia beside me, breathing steadily, somewhat entranced. Zain Sia is exceptionally handsome. His face appears as if meticulously sculpted, without a single ounce of excess flesh. The thought of never seeing this face again brings a tinge of reluctance to my heart. I reached out and gently caressed his face. As my fingers traced the bridge of his tall, straight nose, they lingered there, reluctant to move on. 5 years. To say I never felt anything would be a lie. A tear slipped unexpectedly from my eye as the image of Zain Sia's confident expression in the private room suddenly flashed through my mind. She can't leave me. The next second, I withdrew my hand as if shocked by electricity. A voice popped up in my heart. "Mira Chiao, he's about to get engaged. He still wants to keep you on the side. Do you still want to like a man like this?" After coming to my senses, I was completely sober. Yes, no matter how despicable I am, I shouldn't continue to like someone else's fiancé. That's the bottom line. After thinking it through, I got up and left, closing the bedroom door behind me. I planned to wait until he woke up the next morning to make things clear to him. I had nightmares all night. Waking up on the couch, the sky was still dim. Beside the couch, Zain Sia's phone rang from inside his jacket. I sat up and reached into the pocket to pull out the phone. When I saw the words fiancé on the screen, a wave of guilt surged through me again. I need to break up with Zain Sia quickly. I can't delay any longer. I took my phone and went into the bedroom. Zain Sia was still asleep. I patted his arm and hesitantly said, "Zain Sia, your phone is ringing." Zain Sia frowned and said, "Can you answer it for me first? It's your fiancé calling." After saying these words, Zain Sia suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze clear and alert. He sat up from the bed, took the phone, and pressed the answer button. "Zain Sia." I could clearly hear the voice on the other end of the line, a very sweet and lively female voice. Zain Sia gave a hum of acknowledgement. "So early, what's the matter?" The girl was quite skilled at acting coquettishly. "Why so serious?" "I'm calling to remind you not to forget that you're coming with me to meet my family today." "Don't be late," Zain Sia replied. "I haven't forgotten, I'll be there on time later." The call ended, and the room suddenly fell into complete silence. When I felt like I was about to suffocate, I took the initiative to break the deadlock. "Are you getting engaged?" Zain Sia was very composed. "1 more week." Then, he asked me with a smile, "What, are you jealous?" "No, Zain Sia continued. "By the way, I've already transferred the ownership of this apartment to your name. Someone should contact you this afternoon to sign the contract. After Zain Xia said these words, I forcefully swallowed back the words of breaking up that I had rehearsed 10,000 times in my mind. Men can be discarded, but a 400 square meter luxury flat in the city center, no one could possibly refuse that. When I looked up again, my eyes were brimming with tears, overwhelmed with emotion. Zain Xia probably thought I was just too upset. Seeing this, he reached out and gently wiped my nose. Fool. Didn't say I don't want you anymore. After speaking, he turned over and got out of bed. Walking towards the door, I'll probably be busy with engagement preparations recently, might not have time for you. Wait for a while, I'll come back to accompany you after I finish my work. As he spoke, he walked to the door. Before leaving, he hugged me and planted a deep kiss on my forehead. Wait for me to come back. I obediently nodded my head, but the moment the door closed, I wiped my forehead with the back of my hand, crying, Mira Qiao, we'll leave as soon as we get the house. This is what you deserve after these 5 years. While waiting for the house to be ready, I didn't stay idle. I rummaged through everything and found all the gifts Zain Xia had given me over the past 5 years, bags, shoes, and the like. I packed them into 2 large boxes. I sold them at a low price to a shop that specializes in buying second-hand luxury items. By the time I finished, it was already afternoon. While eating out, I received a text message on my phone. Hello, Miss Qiao. Do you have time to come and pick up the property transfer contract now? After signing the documents, I turned and entered a real estate agency, entrusting the house to them. I only have 2 requirements, full payment, and a quick sale. When I walked out of the real estate agency, I didn't expect to run into Jet Chen, a friend of Zain Xia. It was too late to avoid him. He spotted me immediately and even greeted me. What are you doing here, Mira Qiao? I stammered. Here to handle some business for the company. After saying it, I immediately regretted it. I just remembered, his family owns a real estate company. This agency seems to be part of his family's business too. With a sly look in his eyes, I heard Zain just gave you a house. You're not planning to flip it here and then run away, are you? I knew I couldn't hide it from him, so I simply admitted it. At worst, I'll just give up on this house. Right, I'm leaving Zain Xia. If you're going to report to him, call him now. His expression changed, and he opened his mouth, taking a long time before finally speaking. Are you really sure about this? I nodded in confusion. I've made up my mind. Zain, he really had no choice. He's quite serious about you too. Before you, he had never been with another woman. Would you please just... Jet Chen wanted to persuade me further, but I stopped him. I can follow him without any status or recognition. But I can't go against my own moral principles. I don't want to be the other woman. My voice was firm. Jet Chen finally sighed. I won't tell Zain about meeting you today, but, as you know, he is that kind of person. If he finds out you've left, he will surely come looking for you. Take care of yourself. After saying these words, he left. 3 days later, the house was sold, because I said it needed to be quick. The agent lowered the price by 20% below market value. The buyer was very straightforward. We received the message just that morning. By the afternoon, my account had received a deposit of 18 million. I have officially submitted my resignation to the company. To my surprise, Zain Xia agreed very easily. He texted me on WeChat asking, why the sudden resignation? Feeling unhappy, I was just thinking about how to explain when he sent 2 more messages. Forget it. If you don't want to work, then don't. After the engagement banquet, I'll take you to the seaside to relax. I replied with a single word, okay. At the same time, I booked a flight ticket to return to my hometown early the next morning. As I boarded the plane, I received a message from Zain Xia. It was a picture of a diamond ring. He should be accompanying his fiancée to look at diamond rings right now. Counting the days, their engagement banquet is just 2 days away. Very beautiful. I casually replied. He asked, do you like it? Should I get one for you too? No need. I probably wouldn't use it. It's fine. It's just for fun anyway. Zain Xia seems to have truly become someone I no longer recognize. The ring that carried a woman's beautiful hopes for marriage turned out to be just a game in his eyes. I can't help but feel his fiancée deserves better. Just before turning off my phone, I still managed to say my final goodbye to him. I want to draw a perfect conclusion to these 5 years of ours. Zain Xia, I'm leaving, wishing you a happy engagement. After sending the messages, I turned off my phone. As the plane continued to climb, the engine roared with a thunderous sound. I also silently bid farewell in my heart to the city where I had lived for 5 years. Jiangqing, goodbye, and never see you again. On the other side, Zain Xia felt a momentary panic after receiving Mira Qiao's message in the shop. He called Mira Qiao, but her phone was turned off. A bad feeling crept into his heart. Mira Chow didn't seem to be joking, so he made up an excuse, saying there was an emergency at the company and he needed to go back. After speaking, he ignored his fiancée's attempts to stop him. Alone, he drove to Mira Chiao's house. When he arrived, he found the place already deserted. The passcode had been changed. Zane Xia realized he had been fooled. Recalling Mira Chiao's usual obedient demeanor, an inexplicable anger welled up inside him. He muttered to himself, "Mira Chiao, very well." After going downstairs, he picked up his phone and called his assistant. "Find out what Mira Chiao has been up to in the past few days, and get me her itinerary, quickly." Early the next morning, as I went out to grab some food, I spotted Zane Xia downstairs. I wasn't surprised that he had come after me. I understand his personality, on the surface, calm and detached, but deep down, he's stubborn. He doesn't allow anything or anyone to escape his control. I saw him walking towards me from a distance, his usually neat hair slightly disheveled by the wind today. When he reached me, he grabbed my arm and shouted at me, "Had enough of this. If you're done, come back with me." Then, he dragged me outside. I stubbornly stood my ground, refusing to move. Perhaps because my arm hurt from his pulling, I squatted down and started crying. Only then did Zane Xia stop and squat down as well. He gently patted my head with his palm, his voice soft. "All right, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have lost my temper with you. I was just really angry earlier." Seeing me motionless, he simply picked me up from the ground. I struggled, saying, "I won't return to Jiangqing." He gave a bitter smile. "Fine, no return to Jiangqing. Go home, to your place, okay? I've never been to your home before. Take me up to see it, okay?" Without waiting for my consent, he simply carried me upstairs. I live on the 5th floor, and there's no elevator. He walked step by step without saying a word, yet kept talking to me the whole time. "Are you feeling homesick? It's my fault. I was afraid you'd feel sad remembering your mother, so I never accompanied you back here in these 5 years. If you're homesick, you can stay at home a bit longer. It's the same if you return to Jiangqing after the new year." I protested in his arms. "I'm not going back. I'll never go back in my lifetime." He sighed with a doting tone. "Are you still angry, so eager to marry me? As if anyone would want to marry you." I struggled in his arms once again. This time, I broke free easily. "Zane Xia, considering you were once my boss, you're welcome as a guest, but as for other matters, let's not bring them up again." The 5th floor arrived quickly. After opening the door, he followed me inside. I went into the kitchen and poured him a glass of water. When I came out, Zane Xia suddenly hugged me. "Mira Chiao, I haven't seen you these past few days. I really missed you. Let me give you a proper hug." "Okay." I used a lot of effort to push Zane Xia away. After pushing him away, Zane Xia looked at me with a stunned expression. Ding ling ling. Coincidentally, his phone rang. He answered it with a frown. On the other end was that familiar female voice, his fiancée. "Zane Xia, don't forget. We're going to sample the menu today." Okay, I'll be back in the afternoon." Zane Xia hung up the phone, looked at me, and continued, "Mira Chiao, I really like you. Don't leave me, okay?" His eyes were filled with deep affection. He had just hung up on his fiancée, yet turned around to whisper sweet nothings to another woman. I made an impossible demand of him. "As long as you don't get married, I'll go back with you." Zane Xia indeed turned cold-faced. "Mira Chiao, don't get stuck in a dead end. These are all very normal things. Whoever I marry won't affect the relationship between us. You know I love you. Isn't that enough? Do you really need me to marry you to prove that I love you?" "Zane Xia, I don't care if you can marry me or not. I never believed in marriage anyway, but I don't want to be the woman you keep on the side." Zane Xia paused. "The engagement was arranged by my mother." He seemed to be explaining. "You know my mother's current health condition. I can't break her heart, but I promise you, in a few years, I'll get a divorce and marry you. I won't make you wait too long." He opened his arms to me, as if waiting for my surrender. I stubbornly stared at him, motionless. After a long while, Zane Xia's face darkened once more. He stormed out, leaving behind a single sentence. "Even if you refuse to come back with me today, I have plenty of ways to make you return to my side obediently." Mira Chiao, we'll see about that. 1 month after Zane Xia left, I sent my resume to many companies, wanting to start a new life. But every single resume I sent out was rejected without exception. No surprise, it was done by Zane Xia. He's forcing me to compromise. I quickly let it go. My savings are enough for me to live carefree for the rest of my life. Not working is no big deal. Later, news suddenly spread in the neighborhood group chat. It seems our neighborhood is going to be demolished. It wasn't until the day the property management came to my door, asking me to sign the consent form, I received a text message from Zane Xia, as long as you agree to come back, I'll have them stop immediately. It suddenly occurred to me. I think I once told Zane Xia that the house in my hometown was very important to me. After my mother passed away, Zane Xia asked me to sell the old house in my hometown. He wanted to buy me a new one in Haicheng, but I refused. I said, that house holds happy memories of my childhood. I just didn't want to completely become a parasitic vine at that time. Don't forget your own identity. But in fact, even this was a lie I told him. I smiled and signed the document without hesitation. Zane Xia didn't know, but I actually hated this house. Those beautiful childhood memories were also made up by me. Now that it's demolished, just perfect. After that day, I moved into a rental apartment costing 800 a month. The room is small but fully equipped, and staying alone all day wouldn't be scary. However, when people have money in their pockets and idle time, they tend to think of doing something bad. So, one night after binge-watching countless soap operas, I went to a bar and ordered a male escort. The moment I finished paying, I regretted it. As I watched the male model dancing in front of me, Zane Xia's face kept flashing through my mind. When I tried hard to shake Zane Xia's face out of my head, I saw the model guy standing right in front of me again. The sudden drop left me feeling unexpectedly disheartened. After downing 2 drinks, I left the bar with a hollow sense of emptiness. A gust of cold wind snapped me halfway out of my tipsy haze. A few steps later, hunger pangs struck, leading me into a noodle shop. I didn't expect to run into my old classmate, Lu Chen, here. He was the class monitor during my high school years and the only one who helped me when I was isolated by my classmates. He recognized me first and greeted me, Mira Chiao. I paused for a moment, then walked toward him with a smile, greeting him warmly. Class president, what a coincidence. As the words left my mouth, the look in his eyes changed slightly. Mira Chiao, you. He paused for a long time before speaking. You've changed. I looked down at myself. It seems I have changed. Back in school, I always kept my head down and never dared to speak loudly, but now, meeting Lu Chen's gaze, I smiled and said, it's been 9 years since we last met. It's only natural that we've changed, isn't it? Lu Chen nodded and said with a hint of emotion, it's really nice to see you become who you are now. He said it sincerely, without a hint of awkwardness. No one would have guessed that I once rejected his advances. I suddenly felt a bit ashamed. I took advantage of his feelings for me back then, just to make my school life easier. Now, I want to apologize to him. Back then, He was interrupted mid-sentence by Lu Chen suddenly standing up. He waved toward the door. Qian, over here. I turned around to see a girl in a pink down jacket walking in. After she took her seat, Lu Chen eagerly introduced her to me. Qian, my girlfriend. I stood up and extended my hand to his girlfriend. Hello, I'm your boyfriend's high school classmate, Mira Chiao. The atmosphere was awkward, and sitting across from the young couple made me feel quite uncomfortable. After the noodles arrived, I took a couple of bites and then asked the waiter to pack them up. Before leaving, they kept trying to persuade me to stay. Unable to refuse, I added Qian's WeChat, saying we'd meet up another time. Leaving the noodle shop, I couldn't help but sigh. I must have watched too many romance dramas lately. Otherwise, how could such unrealistic thoughts pop into my head? Before Qian arrived, I had even considered apologizing to him for what happened back then. Thankfully, I didn't say it out loud just now. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing. Looking up again, I saw a girl in a red short dress standing not far away. On this street where everyone was wearing black or gray coats, she stood out quite a bit. I had a feeling she was here for me, because ever since I came out, her gaze had been fixed on me. It turned out I wasn't wrong. Sure enough, just as I had taken a few steps, she caught up to me. I'm Zane Xia's fiancé, Xiao Ran. Want to talk? I glanced at her arms reddened from the cold and brought her home. Once inside, she looked around the room and made a face of disdain. Didn't Zane Xia rent you a decent place? I no longer intended to pour water for her. I've already broken up with Zane Xia, I said calmly and with dignity. She curled the corner of her lips. Do you really think I'd believe that? After speaking, she reached out, lifting my chin with her fingertips, her gaze full of disdain. I was under the impression you were some kind of stunning beauty. To have Zane Xia so infatuated with you, it seems like nothing special now. After saying that, she casually walked over to the sofa and sat down. I patiently repeated it once more. Believe it or not, it's true that I broke up with Zane Xia. Don't worry, I won't interfere with your marriage. Hearing my words, she scoffed lightly and retorted, you don't think I'm here to ask you to leave Zane Xia, do you? You're wrong. On the contrary, I'm here to persuade you to return to Jiangqing. I was somewhat taken aback. Why? She raised her eyes, filled with disdain. I'm not like you. I'm not the kind of woman who becomes nothing without love. Her tone was dripping with sarcasm. I'm only with Zainsia for my family's business. I don't care if you're still with Zainsia or not. I just don't want to see my groom abandon me at the altar on my wedding day. I understood in my heart. She probably thought I was playing some kind of hard-to-get game. I stayed silent for a moment, then said, Zainsia is not the kind of person who doesn't know what's important. Besides, he loves his mother so much that he would never let her down. Xiaoran crossed her arms, looking domineering. Of course I know he wouldn't. I'm worried about you. Who knows if you'll pull some suicidal stunt. Don't worry, I won't either. She waggled her finger. I don't trust a scheming woman like you. Then there's nothing I can do about it. I spread my hands, adopting a take-it-or-leave-it attitude as if to say, believe what you want, see what you can do about it. I noticed a flicker in her eyes. It's only natural for a poor person like you to want to climb the social ladder. But I must remind you not to forget your place, she continued. Actually, I quite pity you. Born from humble origins, it's not easy to climb up to someone like Zainsia. Now, you must be trying to hold on to Zainsia's coattails tightly. However, I'd like to give you a piece of advice. Don't set your expectations too high for a man, thinking he'll love you forever. A woman's only worth lies in her youth. You might as well stay by Zainsia's side for a few more years while you're young and make a good sum of money. I can also give you an extra sum of money. Why not take the opportunity? Name your price. How much? You just agreed to return to Jiangqing and stay by Zainsia's side until he gets tired of you. A sudden cold breeze blew against my back. I turned to look. It was because Xiaoran hadn't closed the door when she came in earlier. Turning back, I also let out a soft laugh. To tell you the truth, I'm not what you think either. I've never cared for love. From the very beginning, I only approached Zainsia to get money for my mother's treatment. You don't have to worry about me clinging to him. He's just a tool to me. I don't want money, and I won't return to Jiangqing. Nor will I be the third party between you two. I'm not like you rich people. I have the most basic moral principles in life. She suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. The laughter was piercing. No, side chick. Wasn't your mother the other woman? I was completely furious. Shut your mouth. Xiaoran showed no intention of stopping and continued speaking. There's no need to pretend in front of me. I've already looked into your background before coming here. Your mother was the other woman, so it's only natural for you to be one too. After all, as the saying goes, like mother, like daughter. Slap. A dense, stinging pain spread through my palm. Yes. My mother was the other woman. I always thought I hated her. Because of her, I never had a single good day at school. But later, when she fell ill, I found I couldn't bring myself to be cruel. For her sake, I didn't hesitate to sell my body. I became someone who would stop at nothing to achieve my goals. Yet in this lifetime, nothing stings more than being called that by others. Do you believe that with just a flick of my finger, I could crush you like an ant? Xiaoran covered her face, looking at me with an expression of disbelief. Only then did I realize what I had done. As I stood there stunned, Xiaoran rose from the couch and raised her hand to strike me. I resignedly closed my eyes. Just before the slap could land, a sharp command came from outside the door. Stop. Then, Zainsia walked in from outside. Get the hell out of here. Zainsia shouted at Xiaoran. Xiaoran's eyes instantly turned red, and before leaving, he dropped a threatening remark. You'll pay for this. After Xiaoran left, Zainsia stood at the door, quietly watching me as if trying to see right through me. Just now, was everything you said true? It's true, I admitted it. No fluster from being caught in a lie, but rather a touch of composure. I only approached you for the money. Now you know everything. Go after her quickly. Your fiancé probably hasn't gone far yet, or you might not catch up later. Actually, I knew he was outside the door all along. Those words just now were deliberately said by me. It was just to quickly draw a clear line between us. What surprised me was that Zainsia didn't go after Xiaoran. Instead, he walked up to me and knelt down on one knee. He took out a diamond ring from his pocket and said softly, Actually, I came today to propose. No matter what you look like or why you approached me, it's you as a person that I love. Ms. Mira Qiao, will you marry me? In the future, I will love you with everything I have. As he was about to put the ring on my finger, I pulled my hand away. I turned around, my back facing him. But, Zainsia, I don't love you. From beginning to end, the only thing I've ever loved is money. If you really can't spend it all, just give me more money. After a long while, Zainsia stood up from the ground. Mira Qiao, I'm giving you one last chance. Will you agree or not? I didn't turn back. After Zainsia left, I stretched out my palm marked with crescent-shaped indentations. It's okay, I was almost moved just now. But I know, we were never from the same world, so, I have no regrets. From now on, I will live well and earn money diligently, no matter what kind of person I become. It will be the version of myself that I aspire to be. And it has nothing to do with Zayn Sia. As for Zayn Sia, from the moment he wanted to keep me as a hidden relationship, to me, he is merely a passerby.